So WWE RAW went down last night, and I did this last week. I opened it up to hot takes, and you guys left a bunch of them, so I figured, hey, why not make a video out of it? So we're going to go ahead and start off with Shotgun Sean, who says, Priest ironically feels more of a top star now compared to when he was the actual world champion. It didn't seem like that long ago when people were really complaining about Damian Priest's world title run. I thought his cash-in was awesome, and they spent some time kind of figuring out what they wanted to do with him as world champion. But by the time he lost it, people really seemed to be into Damian Priest. I think sometimes you need to have, like, I don't know, a big loss for people to sort of get on your side. Number one, he had a couple of really terrific matches right before he dropped the title. His last couple of world title matches were really, really good. And then he drops it in a way that's pretty shocking and leads to a huge story development. And sure enough, on last week's Raw, you saw the reaction he got. That carried over to this week as well. Judgment Day, in my eyes right now, is WWE's A story. Obviously, with Roman Reigns being back on SmackDown, that might change things a little bit, but they need to get going over there if they're going to be as intriguing as they were like a year ago with the Bloodline stuff. But pivoting back over to Damian Priest, yeah, I just feel like oddly they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish with him, but that didn't lead to him winning the world title. It was a necessity for him to win the world title for them to get there, which doesn't happen very often, but I love to see it happen for Priest because he's pretty awesome. Atticus8659 says, Stone Cold doesn't get enough flack for giving us the what chant. Number one, shout out to anybody who uses the word flack. See, it's YouTube. You can say what you want. If you want to say Stone Cold doesn't get enough shit for giving us the what chant, I agree with this, man. Look, obviously there was no way this guy could know that 30 years later, 25 years later, whatever it's been, I guess we're coming up on probably 25 years because it was what, like 2001? Probably when he started doing that shit. I don't think there's any way he could have known that this was going to be a thing, but goddamn, Rhea Ripley was talking and they were doing the what thing. Now, I personally think the intent of the crowd was we're on Rhea's side, and what was kind of a way of not saying you're getting boring, but a way of punctuating what she was saying. But it still comes off really bad. At this point, we all just know the what chant as like, you're boring me or we don't like you, so we're going to what you. And then the wrestler always has to kind of deal with it and figure it out. It's absolutely obscene. But to be honest with you, if they didn't have the what chant, they'd probably have something else. I'm kind of surprised that LA Knights, hasn't replaced the what yet. I think it might at some point. But yeah, I don't know if you can really blame Stone Cold for that, because if it wasn't what, it'd probably be something else. A Bridger Man says Alpha Academy versus American Made was the best cable tag team match this year. Tozawa especially opened my eyes today. I don't know about the best, although tag team wrestling has really cooled down on cable television in the United States this year. But it was really, really good. I'm always reminded, I'm curious, like, okay, are they actually going to use Tozawa the way that he can wrestle? Because if you look at, I've only seen clips basically, but back in his Dragon Gate days, man, this guy could go. Obviously, he's a former cruiserweight champion, and when they want this guy to wrestle, my God, he can wrestle. Yeah, no, he's terrific, and that match was a lot of fun, and it really got the crowd into it. Tony the Pokemon guy says, I genuinely enjoy the new stage setup. It's simple and easy on the ice. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't really pay too close attention to that stuff. Like, unless there is some new giant, like, practical set piece, different iterations of a giant LED screen, I will not notice that shit. I think it looks great. And that's kind of one of the good things about Raw these days, is that I don't really even pay attention to anything but the stories and the characters now, because they have actually crafted 3 hours of television that's pretty damn good. Kane B says Odyssey Jones is a future world champion, but as a monster heel. It'll be interesting. He's got a long ways to go, but it'll be interesting to see what direction they take with him. I like this New Day. Hey, I will give them credit. They have even managed to make the Final Testament and New Day stuff feel fresh and feel exciting. And it wasn't that way 2 weeks ago. So the addition of Odyssey Jones and Xavier Woods not really knowing how to feel about this, I think it's really good stuff, and it's taken a goddamn long time. It's been 4 months of them feuding, basically. for them to get to this point. So I'm glad it's there. And now I'm not like, oh, God, I want to fast forward through this stuff. It's actually really good. Mew464 agrees, says Final Testament New Day storyline is actually entertaining. I agree with that. AVP says Breaker is getting over pretty good. I'd say he's in that tweener role. Should definitely stay that way. So on today's Going in Raw podcast, our full podcast length review of WWE Raw, we talk about Bron Breakker and who he should feud with next. And we were trying to figure out, what is he a good guy or a bad guy? I think he's like a good guy, but he's like a badass good guy because he ain't going to cheat to win, which kind of just makes him like a good guy. But just a really dominant one. You don't see a lot of those guys. So yeah, I love to see it. I think that he's clearly put in the work and the crowd is really, connecting with the guy. And I think that's cool. I don't know what his next feud is going to be, but yeah, I mean, getting to the point where Braun Breaker versus, Bronson Reed, dude, tell me that's not going to be a lot of fun given what they're doing with Bronson Reed lately. It's been 2 weeks and now this guy is super over with the crowd. They just want to see him tsunami the shit out of everybody. And if they keep that energy going with him, then you'll get to see him in big matches against guys like Bron Breakker. GMD says Drew McIntyre is the best all-round performer in the WWE right now and has been since after the Rumble. For me, it's Drew McIntyre is definitely up there. I loved his interaction with Pierce. I think Dominik Mysterio is up there too. I really do. Man, this guy has really shown a ton of depth and layers and complexity as a performer and as a character. Dom Mysterio is kind of my MVP right now. All right, let's talk about this. Dan Matt here brings it up. Pure Fusion Collective sounds more cult-like than Unholy Union. This one I actually disagree with. This is a hot take. I disagree with this. It sounds like a drink or like a soft beats music collection or I don't know, not a wrestling faction. This might be the hey, that's a good idea for a video. Worst faction names of all time. Because this is up there with the really bad ones. This is really a really bad faction name. Possibly Blitz has it right. Dom's gimmick of being an emasculated man-child is so fucking funny. Just the idea of a guy who fumbles the baddest woman alive for a girl that lets him eat chicken tendies is a stroke of genius. It really is. It really is. And it's entirely believable because there's a lot of man-children out there, dude. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so good. It is so good. She lets me eat tendies and play video games. And she helped me beat my dad. Oh my God, that's good. Ad Savage says Damian Priest might have some of the best choke slams of all time. I'm going to amend this to say JD McDonough sells the choke slam better than anybody in history. Oh my God, that guy gets up so high and damn nearly spikes himself on these things. Tyler Wharton says Punk trying to snatch the bracelet back is USDA certified stupid. What if that shit breaks during the scuffle? The Feud's MacGuffin would be obliterated on live. That's a good point. This thing is held together by a fucking string, man. I hope they have like a bunch of these backstage in case that happens and they could just have Drew McIntyre, like a vignette of Drew McIntyre putting it back together. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he's trying to take this thing off, but he's got to be really delicate about it. Oh, man, that is funny. The MacGuffin would be obliterated on live TV. You made me laugh there, Tyler. Thank you. Gregory W. says Rhea and Damian Priest technically got what was coming to them. They betrayed Judgment Day first, taking out Edge, and now they're the ones betrayed. Dude, even when Rhea Ripley last night was saying, Dom, I wanted you to, I'm so proud of you, of your accomplishments. I wanted you to beat your dad on your own. What the fuck? Get out of here. Since when? Judgment Day is well known for interfering in matches. So don't give me that shit, Rhea. You know what you did. You know what you did, and you kind of had this coming. John Bear Gaming says, WWE might have to run Dom versus Rhea at a pay-per-view at this point. I know it's rare we ever see intergender matches, but this might be the time. I agree 1,000%. Her teasing that Riptide, I know what people are thinking. They're probably going to do this in the mixed tag match. Her and Dom will probably have some action there, but I say save it. Save it for an intergender match. Save it for Rhea versus Dom. That would be huge. That could main event. That could main event Bad Blood. That absolutely could. I know they're talking Punk versus Drew in Hell in a Cell, but that could main event a pay-per-view, man. Absolutely, 1,000% that could. Douglas LFC says the Bronson Reed segments are stupid when you realize the guards do nothing but flail and panic instead of moving the person affected. No, it's great, Douglas, because nobody in the world likes to do their actual job properly, and that's what this is getting across. It lends to the absurd. It's absolutely absurd. It's absolutely absurd, but I like the absurdity in pro wrestling. Sometimes it's like, why the fuck are they just moving the guy out of the way? Because it's wrestling, because it's absurd. Drew Diesel says Raw has proved that Triple H's booking style works best on 3-hour shows. SmackDown should be 3 hours when they move to USA Network. Man, I don't know if that's the case. I kind of disagree with this. I don't know if you want to risk having another 3-hour show. What if that's not the case and it just turns out that he can only focus on one show at a time? Then you just have 3 hours of shitty SmackDown as opposed to 2 hours of mid SmackDown. I don't know. I'd want to take that risk at this point, Drew. But yeah, I mean, Raw works perfect the way Raw is. SmackDown, when it works, is pretty damn good just doing the 2-hour format. But it's just not working right now. Alan Cartwright says, I really don't like how it only takes 2 people to take down New Judgment Day. I feel like Liv needs a heater / enforcer now. I don't disagree with this. When you think about it, it's like Liv is a formidable opponent for Rhea in terms of being in the ring. She can hold her own. We all understand Rhea can beat her if it's straight up one-on-one, but still Liv is a formidable champion. And you have Finn, who I think they're going to start booking a lot stronger because now he's the alpha in Judgment Day. But yeah, I feel like they do need somebody who's not as cartoonishly inept as a Carlito, as a Dom, and as a JD. Like, it does feel like Priest can just take out everybody, or at least him and Rhea can take down the entire faction. So that's not a terrible idea. I kind of think that I agree with that. Holy Order Cypher says, Raw and SmackDown have been severely lacking unrelated moments happening at once. Drew coming out while Gunther and Randy in the ring just to be attacked by CM Punk was very Attitude Era-like. Reminded me of Austin handing out stunners like candy for no reason. I agree with you 1,000%. I thought that bit right there where Drew wants a shot at the world title, so he's going to go interrupt a feud that he's not involved with. Makes sense. CM Punk still wanting a piece of Drew and the old MacGuffin also makes sense. So you get all this shit that's not related happening at the same time. The RKO is going down on Gunther. That is very Attitude Era, and that's good Attitude Era. That's what the Attitude Era was known for. Bringing that energy where all that shit, all that chaos just happens. And that's what Raw is really building on, is the chaos of the brand. I'm going to end on this one because it's so funny. The Unlucky Conqueror says, Kofi showcased a master class on meat writing during Odyssey Jones's match. I'd be upset if I was Woods too. Me too. I'd be like, where's this enthusiasm for me? I've been your best friend for like over 10 years now. Where's this enthusiasm for me? This is just a new guy that you met at the Performance Center once. Man, if I didn't know you had this kind of enthusiasm in you and you're not using it for me, you're using it for Odyssey Jones, get out of here with that. Meat writing. Anyways, that's going to do it for WWE Raw Hot Takes. Thanks for submitting yours. If you want to submit yours for this week's SmackDown, which I'll probably do that too, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notify bell so you know when the community tab thing goes live. And then you can put in your hot take. Maybe it'll end up right here on the show. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys around.